Welcome to the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Kirk, we are all the way to October, or as we're going to call it this month, October. Why are we calling it that? Let the people know. What's special about October?
Well, I mean, October is the new month, and we figured what's best to leave out of football and do one of our other favorite things, and that is watch television. The new fall TV rolls out every October-ish, September, October. And so some of those new television shows are coming out. It's a little different nowadays because most of it's all on streaming with Netflix, Hulu, and whatever. But I can remember back in the day, waiting for that next fall season to come wrap around, and either my favorite shows I'm trying to continue or something that I may have heard of that's coming through. So figured we'd start with some TV. We've done movies. We've done a couple movies in between, and man, what better to end our year with is one of those things with TV.
So we've got a month loaded with TV themed Rushmores, and this week we figured, hey, what a great way to start this. We're gonna look at some of the iconic classic. What is our top four sitcoms of all time? So let's get into our Rushmore right now. Let's do it. All right, Kirk, let's kick off our Rushmore. But before we do that, we like to bring on some friends. Tell the Rushmore community, who are we bringing on today to talk about sitcoms?
Well, I'm bringing Tim the Toolman Taylor. I'm just kidding. So I am actually bringing one of our favorite hosts that we've ever had. He's going for the Triple Crown. He's our second person to be on board with us for the third time. And that's none other than Dennis Breland. Dennis, welcome back to the show.
What's up,
Thanks
Dennis?
for having me, guys. It's always a good time.
So
Join
Dennis,
us.
man, you love TV?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's all I do at home now.
Yeah.
I'm like, I could go out, but there's also TV I could just sit at home and watch now.
So this month we're going to do binge-worthy television. We're going to do some nostalgia TV. We're going to do some competition TV. But this time we decided that we're going to do sitcoms. And we were trying to figure it out. What is the fine line of a sitcom? What makes it right? What makes it in? And as you were thinking through yours, we're going to allow our guest from here on out to kind of start us off, kick off the show. So Dennis, what would be the criteria that you went through? And why don't you start this thing off with a bang?
Well, my criteria was basically I had to have seen the entire series. It had to have a satisfying end. Because, so many shows,
Okay.
to me, they all had, the ones I have all had satisfying ends. And the ones I can think of one random episode and want to go watch that episode.
See, there you go. I like that. I like the way you're thinking. So
yeah.
What would be your Rosie? Who would be the bottom of your list starting us off?
Okay, well, we got to be careful when we talk about this one because I don't want to get slapped, but the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is my Rosie.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Good one.
A great heartfelt show. And I mean, Will Smith was amazing in it. James Avery. They're all so good. It's just the episode with Dad.
Oh, yeah. There you go. He's talking about going to a random episode and wanting to watch it. There it is right there.
So there you go. I love this show. And maybe it might be on my list later, but I've had it on my list before as music theme show songs. I've had it. We've talked about it all the time, of course, with the Grammys and everything else that went along with that. You better watch out. Will might get us, but here's the deal. It was a great episode that he put on with his dad. And that one right there, I think, changed it from not only changed it from necessarily being a sitcom, because that was the main deal, but it started to bring in some really good family themes and actually started to give what was basically just a fun rapper a bit of some chops when it came to acting. and he's one of the biggest actors in the world nowadays, and that did push him off to new heights. So I love that choice, Andy.
That's a great pick.
Okay, that's a great pick. That's a great pick.
Because
without giving it away, that's a great pick.
Just
right?
A great pick. And I guess we'll move to me now for my Rosie. And we're going to start this thing off already crushmoring it.
Oh, okay. Crushmore right off the bat. So Fresh Prince.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised, baby. Come on. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. It's so good. I really wanted to make this my TJ Jazzy Jeff for obvious reasons. But
see, I debated it.
I thought about it. But no, it definitely makes it there. Look, you can't think of sitcoms. Now, let me tell you this, because I didn't really say
what's your criteria then?
Yeah.
How do we get
jumping all through, going crazy with this, right? Or whatever. I thought I had a criteria, but I don't. It's 4 sitcoms that I liked. Because here's the thing. My first thought was, I think maybe I've shared this before, or at least in conversation, Kirk, you and I have definitely talked about this. I'm not a fan of the laugh track. I don't like laugh tracks in sitcoms because it just seems not authentic. It's like you're telling me when I'm supposed to laugh. Let me decide what's funny and what's not, right? I don't like it unless it's a live studio audience. There's a little bit of difference there, but for the most part, I'm not a big laugh track fan. But this is an exception. This show is just so good that I can look past that, because every time there is a laugh track, it is funny. It is legitimately hilarious. It is a well-timed one. You know, I when I was doing my research, I didn't realize that I thought I liked more sitcoms than what I do. And I'm looking through it and I'm like, you know, I like this one, but I haven't watched enough of it, right? Or I like this, you know, I've seen a few episodes and it's hilarious, but I just never really kind of stuck with it. So those got eliminated. And that left me here. Fresh Prince just makes that rosy, because watching so much of it, honestly, it was a little bit before my time, I guess, technically as a kid. I was alive, but, you know, I'm not watching TV at that time. But it actually came on at, like, I think Nick at Night would show it after a while or whatever, you know. So, like, seeing some of that, having some of, like, the retro feel of it and everything. And then obviously, look, you got Will Smith, you got the Carlton, you know, you got everything that's just iconic and classic from this. Uncle Phil. It's a great one. It mixes well the comedy with the really heartwarming, just good family stories that are in there. See some really serious talks, you know, and things that they go through. It's just a really great. I can't talk about it much more. And then, okay, there you go. The theme song. I know this isn't a theme song episode, but the theme song, you know, is iconic. It also, too, like, it catches you up. If you just listen to the theme song, okay, now I know where we're at. I know the whole backstory. There's nothing else I really need to know. They filled in all of the blanks there for us. So Fresh Prince.
If you're lucky, you get the extended cut of it.
Oh yeah, and then there's that one that's like the record mix, right? Yeah. So
yeah,
my Rosie, my number 4, and I guess sort of my criteria. There you go. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is starting off my list. Now, Dennis, I know you talked about it, but Kirk, you got anything else to add to that?
Now, I may be wrong, but don't you have a picture for them?
Oh, yeah. Let's go to West Philadelphia real quick, where I was clearly born and raised. Here we go. Here we go, baby.
There's the house. There it is. There it is.
Right here.
So
yeah, I walked up to the door.
Look,
you know.
I'm going to go with, I just love this one. And it's obviously my turn. And I'm going to jump into my criteria. And shockingly, this one did not make my list. And I'm going to tell you why, because it's all about my criteria. I really thought about this pretty extensively. It was on my list up until about an hour ago. And I was like, you know, we have a nostalgia show coming up. And in order for any of my shows that are going to be on this one, and I think maybe for you too, Andy, if we're talking about nostalgia shows, if we're going to put any comedy at all in those shows, well, they better be on this one too. And I'm thinking, I don't know that it will make both shows for me. So first off, this is my criteria. Like you said, Dennis, I have to have watched the majority, if not all of it. Andy, as you said, in my older age, I love comedy. I love comedy movies. I love comedy TV. But as far as like sitting down and watching series of or episodes and episode after episode of a comedy show, it's not something that I've given a lot of my time to. There are lots of bingeable things that I've watched, but none of them for me would be comedy at all. And so that right there eliminates so many of the recent heavy hitters. I mean, ones that I'm sure are going to make it on this show, some that are going to make it in the bottom. And I've contemplated, even just because I watched a few episodes of those and I thought it was just absolutely hilarious, I even contemplated to put it in my top 4. That's how good they are. But I'm like, how could it be in my top 4 if I don't even watch it that often? I mean, that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. The last thing that I would do is, if I was to start an episode today, this eliminates all the rest, including Fresh Prince for me. What were the 4 television shows, if I wanted to rewatch them and start from the beginning today? What would I do? Because as a kid, I used to watch a lot of these. And if you would ask me at 17 years old, this is definitely rewatchable. Today, I'd probably just watch that one episode, maybe a couple others, see Carlton dance a little bit, and then I'm jumping to something else. So with that being said, I'm going to go to my first show, which is, I kind of jokingly and told this to Andy before we started. I don't know that any of mine are going to be a Crushmore, maybe with nobody. I mean, these are just 4 of my favorite shows. I just love these shows so much. And I'm going to go with this. So I am a huge fan of the art of observation and deduction. And this is the only comedic one that I can find. And I've watched the whole thing. And actually, I just restarted it. Again. And I'm going with none other than Psych. If you know anything about me, I love Sherlock Holmes. I love every show that Sherlock Holmes has, whether it's Elementary or it's Sherlock from the BBC version, and any of those, because I like the idea of deduction and the idea that they solve crime by paying attention and observation. And that's basically what Sean does here in this show. And he is blamed. Originally, he's blamed for a crime, and then he solves it. And because he solves it like ahead of time, they all think he's a psych. But it's kind of a play on words. It's kind of like, psych, I'm not really a psych. And he plays this character the whole time as if he is he's a psychic, but really he just pays attention and he's really smart. And it's because his dad was a cop, and you see little clips of him going back and forth when he was a young guy, and trying to learn how to become this observation type, wizard, if you will. I really like the show a lot. It's hilarious. The only person that you might know is Corbin Burnson, who's his dad, and he kind of helps him learn to be the psych that he is. It's a great show. It's funny, and it gives me lots of Katrina vibes because I watched a lot of this, like the whole thing, like binge watched it and while we were in the FEMA trailers. So I actually started watching it again, and it's just as funny as I thought it was. And so I'm going to come with a kind of a wild card. Probably won't be in anybody's, but I just love this show. Is Psych.
Yeah, it's one of the ones I've seen a few episodes of. I never consistently watched it. But I do really like James Rodriguez in there, because this one doesn't make mine. I mean, maybe I'll wait. He's in another one. He doesn't make my Rushmore, but it's potentially one of my Benjamins at the end there. He's got a really good one. But yeah, so like I said, good one. Good one. Doesn't surprise me for you picking it, because it's right up your alley of the types of shows that you like. So what about you, Dennis? You ever watch Psych?
I've literally never seen an episode.
What is it on? What is Psych air on?
Actually, I don't know. I guess I thought of it more as I thought it was more of like a cop show.
It is. It's kind of like a cop show. It's I don't know. If you like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, it's pretty close, in my opinion, except it's silly, it's funny, it's goofy, how they solve the crimes, but I really like it. It's just a fun show. It's something I would binge.
I have to check it out.
It was USA Network. So there you go. So that might be why I never watched it, because it was USA Network. So anyway, but cool.
All right, so we're back to you, Dennis. So let's start us over. What would be your TJ Jazzy Jeff? It can't be Fresh Prince, because y'all all use them.
Right. Well, it's just been decided that this is my TJ Jazzy Jeff, because my criteria was the satisfying ending. And while it's debated that this one had a satisfying ending and the last season wasn't really a season of it, my TJ Jazzy Jeff is Scrubs.
Nice. I love this show.
It's a good one. It's
great. Tell us all about Scrubs.
Scrubs. I mean, it's two best friends that become doctors together, and freaking Bob Kelso and oh man, now I'm blanking on I know the actor's name.
Yeah.
But John C. McGinley. Man, and I've been listening to their podcast too for Fake Doctors, Real Friends, where they rewatch it. It's great.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't even know they had a podcast. That is so good. Look, I'm going to be honest. This one, so an hour before we started, I had two shows on my top 4. Fresh Prince, since I've already given away, was on there. And there's another one. It's a king of comedy type one that I love, but I've only watched episodes or whatever. I took those 2 off, and there were 3 that I was that I was fighting to replace it with, and this is the odd man out. This is number 5, right. So it was one of my Benjamins. It was definitely going to be my first pick in round 2. So you've now pushed me off that ledge.
Funny enough, I used to not be super into it, but I spent some time at Paul and Kenny's house in Mamu, and they were watching it all the time. And I would just watch it.
It's so funny.
And then I finally went through and watched the whole series, and I was like, yeah, I was definitely sleeping on this.
I don't feel like I gave it a fair chance. I've always ragged Scrubs, and the only thing I say, and it's probably hilarious, I'm not doubting that, but it's always the show, or for a while, it was always the show that was on Comedy Central during the weekdays when I was at work or something. Like, it's like when no one's watching. It's just like that's what they filled time with. It was always on Comedy Central. And I honestly, I never gave it a chance. I never watched it. I don't know if I can tell you that I watched an episode of Scrubs.
It's one of those shows, it'll take the serious turns that can just grab you and, turn it. But it's also, you love Family Guy. Yeah. It's almost like a live action Family Guy in the sense that they do a lot of cutaways.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be
what I love about this show, where I started to love this show, was I didn't even watch it when it came out. I watched it when it was already syndicated type stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember it came after. It would play late at night. I think along with the other one that I took off my list. And so these two played back to back usually or something. And it was so funny. I was kind of going through nursing school at the time. And so, anything medical kind of rings a bell. But like you said, they were not very serious about like death and people sick and just weird things that are happening. It's like watching like Grey's Anatomy, but making it funny. Like, it was just it might not be your thing, but it's a good show. I totally applaud
the
that.
Funny thing about it is that they had because it's based off of the creator's best friend, a real JD. He was on set. So it is, from the last time I remember, it is the most medically accurate show that's been on TV. So like all the crazy diseases and stuff in there, they're real. And like, so everything in it's medically accurate.
Yeah. I'm going to have to give it a shot. I'm going to have to give it a chance. I'm going to have to check it out. And I know it's a big hit because when I did research and looking at other lists that people have put together, it's consistently on the lists. And to me, it's almost, the people who love Scrubs let you know that they love Scrubs. At least the people out in college. It's not, you don't question whether they like it or not. So good pick. I'm going to give it some look. So
yeah, it's worth a look. And I'm kind of sad I have to take it off my benjies.
Alrighty.
All right.
Well, my next pick is a little controversial, and I'll tell you why. I did not originally consider this a sitcom at the beginning of my research and thinking about what we were going to do, what we were going to talk about. I did not consider this in that. But as I looked things up, it's on every list. It's there. So I've got to count it as that. And I didn't want to. So my original criteria would have knocked this one off of my list, and you'll get why in just a minute. And I was struggling to find another one because, like I said, like I thought I liked sitcoms more than I really did when I started to look at them. Because much like movies, I find a show and I'll watch it 15 times. And I love that show. This is one of them, and it's a classic. It's iconic. It's our favorite word. So we're going to go from Bel-Air across the country over to Rhode Island is actually where we're going to be located for this one, in a small little town called Quahog. And it's Family Guy. I did it. I didn't want to. You just said it. I'm a fan of Family Guy. It's been clear. I made it clear. Now, here's the thing. My original criteria said I'm going to knock out cartoons because we've talked about cartoons. We've done them. You did it. We did it in Nostalgia Month. We're going to do it again. We've talked about cartoons. I've talked about Family Guy in length. But as I'm putting my list together, I just kept coming back to it. It's like that one you just can't forget. Like I try as hard as I can, and I'm pulling out all of these off the wall ones, dark horse ones and I'm like, they're good, they're whatever, but there is nothing that really captured my attention like Family Guy did. It's hilarious. Go back and watch all the other episodes where I talk about it because I feel like I'm just a broken record. I've talked about it plenty of times, but it's just so smart. Like the comedy, I don't know how he thinks of comedy the way that he thinks about comedy, right? And how he can be so quick, and his writers, I know it's not all him, but can be so quick with the flashbacks and with all of the pop culture references that appear in it, and just the amazing jokes, right? You can't tell the story of Family Guy without talking about Cool Whip.
Ooh, let me have some of that Cool Whip. What'd you say? You can't have a pie without Cool Whip.
Just so good. There's so many Kiss references in it, and I just wanted to join you from Rhode Island. And Kirk, here's the thing. Part of me bringing this up is always to just throw you for a tizzy, right? It's just to get you just mad. Because
so before we even went, you're like, I mean, honestly, you were like, I'm going to have one of them that's going to make Kirk mad. And I'm sitting there thinking, is there a Red Sox television show? Is there an Atlanta Falcons? I'm like, what exactly would you? And then it hit me about, I don't know, was it last night or maybe early this morning? We were like talking about criteria. I said, I'm going to eliminate all cartoons since we already did that.
Yeah.
And when I said that, I was like, well, what else could it be? And I was like, oh, he's either going to A, pick Family Guy, or B, pick The Simpsons. And you might pick both of them. But wait, I think I know your other two. But anyways, I was like, oh gosh, he's going to go with the same. Okay, we're back.
I know.
We just went back in time in Nostalgia Month.
I know, but I
couldn't
do it. I couldn't let it go because, like I said, I messaged you guys earlier. I'm going to throw you for a loop on my Rosie, and then I just eliminated that one because I'm like, I just can't not put Family Guy in this list. And at the beginning, I was like, are cartoons technically sitcoms? Because there was even a list I found that said SpongeBob was a sitcom. Now, I don't at all agree with that. I love SpongeBob, and I've talked about.
Technically, I think.
So sitcom is situational.
Go off on a little tangent. Technically, most cartoons, I think, can present itself as a sitcom.
Right. And maybe we're using.
Well, I mean, not all of them. I wouldn't say any action ones or whatever, but most of the ones that like Tom and Jerry. I mean, that's a sitcom, I guess. I mean, at some level.
Yeah, because all it is situational comedy. I mean, it's not. Right. Outside of that, we don't really have many barriers, and so I had to do it.
Well, I'll say this. Let me say this. It is a great pick because it is a iconic. It's an iconic show, and for our fans out there, people are going to want to. it's just, yeah, it's just not something I would watch or rewatch. So there you go.
What about you, Dennis? You like Scrubs?
I love Family Guy. So it's one of those shows I've watched it multiple times, but I feel like every time I watch an episode again, I find a new joke.
Oh yeah.
Like I pick up on a new joke every single time.
So that's one thing that I've mentioned before about Family Guy is that it's witty. It's very witty. It's very smart. It's like watching the Lego movie, right? You know, if you watch the Lego movie and you're just kind of sitting around and watching it in the background, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool. But if you watch it, like there are so many intricacies that are like, oh man, only a Lego movie could do that. And Family Guy does things like that no other cartoon does. I mean, like it's very smart, it's very well written, and it made him a lot of money. Yeah.
I will say, you know, I don't watch it consistently, you know, nearly obviously as much as I used to, but even now, like I'll find clips and stuff and I just die laughing. So it's really good. It's really good stuff. So let's not get you mad anymore, Kirk. Let's let you have a chance to redeem this list, steer us back in the right direction.
I don't know if I'm going to redeem it because I'm still going to be kind of off the rails a little bit.
Okay.
So this is my second one that I added in. I brought it in. This is the first one, actually. I was like, oh yeah, I want to probably put that in. But this is also a show that I have recently kind of started rewatching. And actually there's some of those heavy hitters that I was talking about that I haven't watched. I'm starting to watch a little bit of that too. But again, it's like a one show here, one show there. I started this from the beginning and I'm kind of rolling through. This is a fun show. It happened, back in 2007. It only went for 5 seasons. I loved it, but I am going to go none other than Chuck. Man, guys, have you seen this show? Have you seen this show?
Nope.
Dude, I love this show. It's all about a computer geek. He's like working at, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a Best Buy type Circuit City type show. And I think it's called the something Mart. It doesn't matter, but his name's Chuck Bartowski. And he intercepts an email, if you will, that was supposed to go to a different Chuck, or if I remember correctly, to a CIA agent. And this has subliminally coded information that is sent over. And as soon as he looks at the email, it's like embedded in his brain and then it deletes basically. And he becomes the instant CIA info for all bad guys and terrorists and things of the nature around the world. It's all these terrorists start showing up at the Best Buy trying to kill him and get the information. And it was just a funny show. I love this show. It is it's one of those, you know, because I've always said I'm kind of geeky and nerdy. Like I'm working at the Best Buy, and this would just be so cool because he then becomes basically overnight a CIA agent. And it's almost like kind of a dream come true for a little nerdy guy. I love the concept. I love how much fun it is. And then he has obviously the girl here. It's kind of a love interest, but it wasn't a love interest in the beginning because you're all weird and nerdy. But she's kind of like undercover CIA agent. And then there's like a major, if you will, this guy from the military that kind of follow him around and protect him. But he ends up protecting himself and going out on missions and stuff. So funny show, love it. I'm going to rewatch it again and continue to rewatch it. It's one of my favorites. So these are the 2 shows that kind of knocked off some big ones because of my criteria, but I love this. Chuck.
Okay. You're adding another one to my list that I'm going to have to eventually watch some episodes of. I'm looking it up as you're showing it. And yeah, I have not watched it.
So both of these are on my Benjamins. I'm sitting there, kept looking at my Benjamins with Scrubs. Those were the 3. And I'm like, how do I get them in? I got to get them in. But yeah, there you go. I just love the shows. They're fun. And they're right up. They're my type of shows. I love it.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time watching USA Network.
Yeah. Because it also was on USA.
This was USA Network too? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yep. It was also on USA. I think honestly, wait, let me think. Psych. Yeah. So Psych was 2006 and it went for like 8 seasons. And this was 2007 and went for like 5 seasons. So at one time or another, they were probably back to back. So that is another thing. Like I'm rolling through them back to back. So Katrina times. So, I mean, 2006, I'm in a FEMA trailer. I'm kind of watching this stuff. Yeah. So there you go.
I get it.
Two of my faves.
We'll be back with more of the Rushmore Show after this quick commercial break.
Congratulations on your new Dixon City Hyundai.
We've got selection. 1,000 cars to choose from. Our service can't be beat. Bumper to bumper, you can't lose. So when it comes to your next car, we have just one thing to say. Get exactly what you want. Come to Dixon City Hyundai. Save every day. Save Dixon City Hyundai style.
For back to school, denim, haircut, backpacks, come get your backpack.
Boots and pants.
New shoes,
get yourself an outfit.
Denim,
Boots and pants.
Haircut,
new shoes. So get yourself back to school with these tunes.
haircut.
All right, so we are halfway through our month already, and we have made our way to Link. Dennis, where are we going to start with our links here? Where are you going?
Our link, the problem with our link is that we kind of fell in the pit.
I fell in the pit.
It's going to be Parks and Recreation.
Yes!
Oh.
Pit.
Nice.
I fell in the pit. Dude, what an amazing show. Some of my favorite characters on TV. Ron Swanson. I love it's a show gives you somebody to love to hate, and that's John Ralphio. John Ralphio, but I love John Ralphio. Yeah, it's just amazing.
So
I'm gonna withhold my comments, and I'm gonna let.
So I mean, Andy doesn't have Ron Swanson on his T-shirt or anything, but
no, not at all.
Let me just jump in and tell you a little bit about Parks and Rec. I love this show. It's funny. I maybe a year or two ago, Andy comes over to the house. He's telling me all about it. I hadn't really watched it. I know there's another show very similar that's probably showing up on a list or two. And I was talking about it, and he goes, well, have you seen this one? And I was like, nah, I haven't seen either one of them. So I started watching, and I am probably about 2.5 seasons in. And I love this show. I don't know why I fall off every once in a while and then come back and pick it up. But it is fantastic. And I told you guys right before we started filming, I just feel terrible not having this show on here. But because of my criteria, it's like, okay, right. I would definitely rewatch this. It's just taken me a long time to get through it. And not because it's not great. It's absolutely phenomenal. And Ron Swanson might be the George of TV characters for me. He is just absolutely my favorite character, probably in any show I've ever seen. Like, he is the perfect character next to some guys that are going to come up on my next 2 episodes, to be honest. So I love this show, and I'm kind of sad it's not on mine, but it's definitely worthy.
The funny thing is, I watched it because of Andy too, because 10 or so years ago when
it was on,
when you and Brett were living together on the house on 23rd, and you were always talking about it, and I finally had to check it out. I was like, what is this all about? And
I remember bothering you about that show.
I might have to go watch an episode or 2 tonight to go to bed.
Goodness. Yeah, like I said, I'll withhold my comments. We'll talk at some point in the future, possibly.
All right. Well,
okay.
Dennis, that's a great pick.
I love it. Andy,
where you at? Your top 2 dogs. Here we go.
Okay, so anyone who knows me can probably pick my top 2. It's without a doubt, it's my top 2. The only debate was what order do they go in, and you have people that are on the school of one of them or the other. To me, you could flip a coin. There is one that edges the other one out, and I'll talk about that. But my number 2, possibly the greatest show of all time, is The Office.
No,
I love. Did I say that I love The Office? Right? It's so good. I'm going to come to you from the break room, and I'm going to talk to you like they do on the show. It's so good. You see Stanley, he's doing his work. He's not doing his work. He's doing a word search right here. Listen, The Office, guys, if you haven't watched it, get out from under the rock that you're under, right? And do yourself a favor. Now, here's the thing. Originated, as a British show. I don't like the British show. Here's a hot take. Can I give you guys a hot take? You didn't ask for it, but I'm going to give you one. I'm not a fan of a lot of British things, movies, shows. It's the
football games in London.
We talked about last week. Football games, like everything, right? I just don't. It's like the comedy doesn't work for me. Everybody's like, you have to love Monty Python. I've watched it and said, I just don't get it. It's not good. It's whatever. I just can't get into it. There's something cringy and weird about it. But here's the thing. When America takes The Office, it's still cringy. There are times when I'm like, oh gosh, I'm watching The Office and I feel so uncomfortable, but it's so good. It's so good. It's a roller coaster of emotions. It is hilarious, right? And everyone's like, and for this one and for my next one is always like, I tried to watch it, and it's like, you got to get through the first season. You just have to. The pilot season is hilarious. You get into it. This is a show, The Office, guys. Look, in today's culture and society, would be burnt at the table before it even premiered, right? Like, there is no way this would make it past the floor of the idea stage of this show today, where we're at in society and everything today. There are so many jokes in there, but God, you just talk about, you said characters, great characters, Michael Scott, right? You got Dwight Schrute, and here we go, Schrute Farms, right? There you go. People love beets. I love it. Stanley, who we talked about right here, Pam Beasley. Yeah, you just got all of these classic characters. Creed Bratton is one of my favorite, most dark horse characters in TV history. He is so good. He's the smallest little part in a few episodes of this, and like just perfect. The writing for this show is perfect. A lot of the actors who are on the show are actually also writers and producers for the show as well. So it's really kind of cool to see that. Like, even characters you hate, like everybody loves to hate Ryan, right? Like, we love to hate Ryan from The Office, but he has written so many of these, right? Or, Mindy Kaling, what's her character's name? But she writes a lot of the episodes. Toby, who everyone hates, or Michael Scott hates.
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
Writes the show. Like, gosh, it's so good. It's another show too. And I love comedy. Like, we've made that clear. We've talked about, I love comedy, but this show has moments that, like, I tear up sometimes. The line where what's his name? Where he says, I wish there was a way to tell that you were in the good old times when you were in the good old times. Like, that line, you're like, oh gosh, that hurts, right? Like, it's so good. The Nard dog, Andy Bernard, that's who says it. So gosh, just, I could talk about this show forever. I love it so much. I've got the hat. My shirt underneath this is actually Stanley playing basketball. The basketball episode where they're playing in the warehouse, and he's like, Stanley's his secret weapon, but knows nothing. But Kevin is the greatest basketball player. Listen, and then the other thing, this is the last thing I want to say about it, because I could talk about this for days. The cold openings of these. Some of the reason I like doing the stingers that we do for the Rushmore Show is because the openings of The Office, and they are some of the best things ever. The most cringy, but one of my favorite ones of all time is Kevin when he brought in his pot of secret homemade chili, and he spills it on the carpet, and it's like an awkward length of time where he's trying to clean up his mess, and he's grabbing papers and he's slipping in the chili, and he's just. You feel so bad for Kevin, but oh gosh, I love it. It's such a great show. Every character on that show could have their own show, and it would take off, and it would be amazing. So, well-written show. I love The Office. What do you guys think about The Office?
So yeah, here we go. So this is the other one. So Parks and Rec and Office were the two that I messaged you. I just have to have it on here. I've watched probably the first season and a half to 2 seasons of this. Actually, last night I was like, I've got to watch some more of this before I film in case I want to put it on. Like, so I started season 2 over again last night with the Dundies, rolled through. I watched like the first episode or 2 of the second season, and it's freaking hilarious. It is, if we're picking kings of comedy, it better be at least in your top 10. I mean, I don't care what kind of comedy you like. The only big thing that ever is a big a turnoff probably of this show is that it has a lot of crass and sexist and racist kind of comments that, like you said, probably wouldn't fit today. Yeah. But it was challenging things that it's like today's All in the Family. You know what I'm saying? Like it brings some of that comedy. It's wonderful. And the funny thing is, it's something that I don't have to watch straight through. I can pick up on an episode, like it could be on TV or Peacock, and dude, this is great. I just love it. Like, it's like, this is hilarious. And then that makes me want to go watch some more. But yeah, this is definitely a king of comedy for me. And I'm sad it's not on. Those two really fought to put them on.
What about you, Dennis? Do you like The Office?
Little spoiler, I love The Office. It's not on my list. But you talk about Creed Bratton. One of my favorite scenes in this show ever is when they're doing like the defense class and they're like, scream, strike, run.
Strike, scream, and run. All right, let's try it.
Dude, every time I watch that scene.
I love when he comes in. I love when he comes in. They're doing like a fake murder mystery. Oh no, it's Halloween and he's got blood on his shirt or whatever. And they're like, "Hey, nice costume, Creed." Oh yeah, good costume. Yeah, like, just little lines. Oh my gosh, yeah, such a great show. I love.
Like you said, it makes you. There are times when I'm watching it and Michael Scott, I'm like, I need to turn this off because I'm getting so mad.
Yeah,
like he's so out of line at times. It's like, geez, man.
He's the best and the worst character,
especially when they actually have the lady that's coming in to do like PR and HR stuff. Dude, I die.
All right, so that is my link, The Office. Kirk, let's move to yours. What you got for your link?
Yeah, so just let me reiterate real quick. If I was going to go with my top 4 prior to this, what my ideal 4 would have been, it probably would have been the 2 you guys just mentioned and these 2. So, and I love the shows that I picked, but I'm going to go with a Tim Allen show, but not the one you're thinking of, not Home Improvement. I'm going to go with Last Man Standing. Dude, before this even started, as we thought about sitcoms, this one and my next one were absolutely on it. And if you haven't seen this show, it's very reminiscent to what Tim Allen does. And basically, he's a guy that works at like Outdoor Man, which is he's like the owner, manager, whatever of this like basically big, Big Bass Pro or something like that. But he is a man's man, if you will, like a far right leaning man's man with a best friend that is a far left leaning man's man, and his wife and daughters are kind of bringing this kind of pseudo world of all this femininity that are coming in, and he is fighting off all of this, trying to be the most man he could be. And it kind of leads back to some of the, Tim the Toolman Taylor stuff, all that stuff. But he drives fast cars. He likes to fish, hunt. And then the favorite thing is he always closes the show down at the end with this podcast that he's kind of sharing with the world why everybody's a bunch of sissies. And his daughter is marrying this really knucklehead guy. And then his other daughter is in this like relationship with a guy who's kind of like letting her be the man and all that. It has so many themes that are kind of running around right now with society. Some of the people that we deal with in youth ministry and all the things that we've done. And I every time I watch the show, my daughter, and I've said this from the beginning, McKenna, they modeled one of the characters after this. Every time I see her, it's like, that is definitely McKenna. I love this show. I've watched the beginning to the end probably 3 times, maybe 2-3 times. They did start off with a different character and changed it over, but to one of his daughters. But I love this show. It's hilarious. It's funny. Tim Allen is one of my faves as far as that goes. And I almost had Home Improvement, but in my opinion, not only is this better, but it's more modern and kind of the time. It's one of those ones that I will probably revisit again. So yeah, Last Man Standing, phenomenal show. Just I remember when it got canceled, I was like almost in tears. I was like, no. And then they brought it back on like the Country Network for a few more seasons. But man, I love this, especially like when the elections were going on and stuff. Dude, this show was awesome. It's one of my favorites.
I love Last Man Standing, and I've watched this at your house before. I remember coming to your house. Look, let me let the Rushmore community know, when we visit Kirk, obviously. So Kirk, when you used to live here in Slidell, we would come over. But even now, when we go visit, 90% of what we do when we're there, at least me and Kirk, and then Courtney and Brittany just go watch TV in the room. We sit at the couch. Sports are on. If it's not sports season, then some show is on, something like that. I'm coming with you to somebody's practice or something. Like, that's what we do. And we either talk about Rushmores or we watch TV. And if we're watching TV and it's not sports,
it probably leads to Rushmores.
It was Last Man Standing. And while it's on, we're talking about Rushmores of things that happen in Last Man Standing. Yeah. So it's just, but I do remember watching that. And you have told me there is that character that is McKenna. So yeah, I've heard this spiel a few times, but this is a good show, man. I obviously caught some flack. We'll just say undeservedly so. It's obviously most of the shows that are out there are pretty far left leaning. This one was definitely not that. This was more to the more conservative feel.
So I mean, it does catch a lot of flack, but like shows like The Office, I mean, even Parks and Rec, I mean, they do similar things. I mean, and just as blatant, except they don't call out, like, okay, so here's the deal. In this show, they specifically call out Barack Obama. Yeah. He specifically calls him out and in different things. And so because of stuff like that, it does kind of hit that borderline. But honestly, I mean, here's the thing. Office is funny because it's good comedy. And if you talk to almost nearly any comedian, some of the best comedy is making fun of these situations, taking light of things that are really tough. And honestly, that's one of the things I hate about the world that we're going to, is that nobody can take a joke, right? And this is what they've based their career off of. And I love it. I mean, I think it's hilarious. It's one of the reasons I actually love The Office, love Parks and Rec, love those type of sitcoms. Sorry, and this one to me is about the most edgiest one that you can get, especially when you see him interact with his neighbor. His neighbor is so funny. I mean, his neighbor is a black guy that is very, very left leaning, and they have this banter and they'll go back. And so the idea that there's a guy on the TV going back and forth and you get both sides and it's really funny. I think it's hilarious. I mean, that we can sit back and see some of it's better than watching it in real life. Let me just tell you, it's better than,
for sure. Dennis, you ever watched or seen Last Man Standing?
I've seen a couple episodes. I checked into it because I loved Home Improvement. I never saw the neighbor. Do you see his whole face, or you just see like a?
No. He actually walks into his house several times. He's going to visit his house. It's not the howdy neighbor. No, it's none of that. It's none of that.
No,
but you actually see the whole guy. Funny.
Well, because like I said, I loved Home Improvement, and so I was like,
I remember
Tim
one
Allen's got-
specifically. I think he like borrows the leaf blower from him, and he don't get it back, or it gets broken, or vice versa. Like he borrows, like the neighbor borrows it from Tim, and he breaks it, and he's like, "Bro, what are you doing? Like, how can you not, control the tool and stuff like that?" Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Good pick. Last man saying you've branched off from USA Network, so that's good. We're broadening the.
I'm on like the country network now. I mean, like the country music.
All right, Dennis, let's end this mountain. I don't know how much better you can get than your link, but I am interested to see your George. What is your number one sitcom?
It's a personal favorite. I can't talk about a George without talking about the George. Of course, I'm talking about George. Fina.
Ooh, that was a new one.
Boy Meets World is my George of sitcoms.
You got to.
That's another one that they've got a podcast going right now, a rewatch podcast. I've been listening to it and rewatching it, but it's another one I think of episodes, and you can think of like those heart-wrenching episodes, like when Sean's dad dies, or they have like the premature baby and stuff. Or Mr. Turner ends up in the hospital while Sean's in a cult. It's all kinds of goodness. I grew up on it.
I figured this one was going to be on your list because we've had this conversation before.
So funny enough, on my Facebook memories today, some years ago, I made a post about this being the greatest show of all time.
So I'm uncultured swine on this one a little bit. I have seen the show, but not nearly enough to know what goes on. And probably because I'm like 10 years older than you guys. But I know the following that this show has, especially like I remember when the new one just came out, what, Girl Meets World or whatever, and everybody was so polarized with it. No, don't do that. And others like, oh, we want to see that. And what's the girl's name? Everybody was in love with her. What's her name? She's got a weird name. Topanga. I remember like seeing a meme not long ago, and it's like every 8-year-old boy's first crushes, and Topanga was one of them. And yeah,
it came out in 93.
Yep. So at that time, so in 93, I was in high school, and so I was probably watching something a little different, but yeah, I just didn't really watch it, and it's a great show. I can tell by the following and what it's there, and it was on my list. So I have a list down here in the bottom corner of probably my top 15 TV shows I've never seen that I probably want to pick up because I know how great they are, and it's one of them.
Look, it's when it starts off, they're kind of in middle school, so it's a little slow. But once they start to get into high school and college, they start.
Oh, see, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that it like followed them like that long. I thought it was just kind of like a younger, like middle school, high school. I didn't even know that.
No, yeah, it's like it was went on for 7 years, and it starts to take on like more mature themes.
Now the new one is like their kids, right, or something like that.
Yeah, it's Corey and Topanga's children. But you talk about the ending of that show, where the last shot is just they're all saying goodbye to Feeney, and they're in their classroom, and they're like, "Tell us."
I remember that.
They're like, "Tell us."
I don't even know who that is. I remember
he's
that.
He's like, "I won't say it." And then after they leave, he's like,
"I love you all." Class dismissed.
I do remember that.
Crying for days.
Yeah.
I do remember
that.
Yeah.
So that might be something I have to go and revisit.
Yeah. Have some good ones. Be ready.
You get Matthew Lawrence at some point.
And Feeney the actor is still alive and kicking, isn't he? Or am I wrong?
He's like 96 years old.
He's pretty he's pretty old, yeah.
Well, also the actor, he was the voice of Kit, Knight Rider. So
right. Yeah. Good show. But Feeney, I love that guy. I love he's an iconic voice, if you will, and he's just one of those staples from like the late 80s, early 90s.
When he had wisdom in every episode, you learned something from him. So that was a good. too.
Yeah. It's kind of reminiscent of like the Welcome Back Cotters and the some of those other high school shows from the 70s and 80s. I mean, I know it's a great show. I'm gonna have to try and pick up an episode and see how it rolls.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love
So Andy,
love the pick.
where are we headed, man?
All right, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, and we all know this. We all know that this is coming. It's not a surprise by any stretch. I'm gonna switch the hat. And I'm going to vote for my favorite, Leslie Knope. We're talking Parks and Rec, baby. This is the number one show of all time. It's a very close with The Office for me, but I just think that Parks and Rec edges it out because of this. We've talked about movies, and a lot of the reason why I like a lot of the movies that I do is just the quotability. And I can't tell you a day that goes by that I don't have some quote that at least passes through my mind related to Parks and Rec. I use it all the time. Listen, you want to talk about characters and character development and writing of a show. Let me just list off these to you. You got Leslie Knope, like we said, Ann Perkins, April Ludgate, Ron Swanson, as you said before, Ben Wyatt, Chris Pratt's in it as Andy Dwyer. You got Jerry, Gary, Larry, who knows what his name really is, right? He's in it. Rob Lowe's in it as Chris Traeger. Donna Meagle. Okay, we got John Ralphio. Billy Eichner is in it, right, as Craig. Then you go down. Oh, Tom Haverford, right? You got Aziz Ansari. Like, the cast is insane for this show. And at the time, too, it's funny. Chris Pratt is like America's, favorite actor right now. And the first season, I think maybe even into the second season, this show was featuring Chris Pratt, also featuring Chris Pratt. He was the little known. He wasn't really much. And Andy Dwyer, look, this show is so good for all of the reasons you shared before. And Dennis, I didn't say before, I love the shirt that you're rocking, Mouse Rat, Andy Dwyer's band that had, I saw a shirt before that had actually all the names that they were before Mouse Rat, but it was like crossed out. So it's like nothing rhymes with orange. Nothing rhymes with blorange. Everything rhymes with orange. Rat, mouse, like just everything. I
got this along with the Mouse Rat album on vinyl.
Yeah, so they just came out.
It's in flush with Cash Green.
Yeah. So the Pit, man, you're talking 5,000 Candles in the Wind. Lil Sebastian, like when Lil Sebastian died, that I cried.
I don't get it at all. It's kind of a small horse. I mean, what am I missing? Am I crazy?
Right. I shed a tear. Gosh, this show is, I don't know where I want to steer this conversation that we're talking about it, but let me just say this. Some of the best quotes. You talk about Ron Swanson. Ron Swanson he's the manly man, right? He is he's all about chopping wood, cooking red meat and all that kind of stuff. Loves it. I love his quote. Here's two quotes. Number one, he says, history began in 1776. Everything prior to that was a mistake. In talking about the Declaration of Independence, right? And then also he says, and I've used this quote before, I love fishing. It's like yoga for me, but I still get to kill something. Just so good. Just so good. He's so good. Okay. And then you got Andy Dwyer, who's just a goofball, Chris Pratt's character in this. He's in this relationship with Ann Perkins in the beginning, but then winds up getting with Aubrey Plaza or April Ludgate, right? And he says he's talking to her, and this is kind of when before they start dating or whatever, but maybe they're dating at the time. And but it's early on, and he says, "I wrote this song for you," and he says, what does he say? He says, "You're like an angel without wings," and then April just says, "So like a person." It's one of my favorite lines. I use it. I say it as much as I can. This show, I watched this. I think, well, let me say this. Family Guy was this way too, but I watched this show when it came out and watched every week all the way through the entirety of the series. I followed this as it was a current show. And then since then, I've watched it probably 6 or 7 more times all the way through. It's another show where, yes, when I finish Parks and Rec, I'm like, well, let me watch The Office again through. And then when I finish The Office, I'm going to go back to Parks and Rec. I just keep doing it. It's a cycle, but I'll even catch episodes, like just random episodes throughout. and I love it. I just started rewatching it. I think I'm like into season 3 of it or so now. Again, on my ninth rewatch or whatever it is, and now I can't talk about it enough. I've got Ron Swanson right here on my shirt. I got everything happening here. My wife bought this for me for Father's Day because nothing is more manly than Ron Swanson, or some like to know him as Duke Silver. Great saxophonist. He's just so good. Gosh, I love this show. And Kirk, you need to keep watching it because we do this again, it'll wind up on your list. I promise.
So I mean, what I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 13 comedy shows in hunting this out that I know are just phenomenal. Going to be on lists below. I mean, since it's my turn, I'm just I'm gonna tell you this. I love the idea of like adding to the library, if you will, and watching shows. But when I get down to watch shows like this, I just get distracted and I miss things. I got to go rewatch and it's just the way my brain works. And they're amazing. They are amazing. And I love Ron Swanson, which, by the way, would lead me into my next kind of who I'm picking. And Suit, it's kind of not the same, but I had mentioned to you that man's man, right? Except for maybe my next few, right? When I talked about him last time, Ron Swanson is just the guy to me, next to Mike Baxter in Last Man Standing, and next to what I'm going to go with my George, Adam Goldberg's dad, the Goldbergs. This is by far the best written show I've ever seen in my life. It's so awesome because I am from the 80s, and we've talked about this before. Watching this show is a nostalgic blast to the past. I mean, like the posters, the kitchen and the way it's set up. It's like, my kitchen looked like that. I had that chicken right there. I had that. And then, gosh, just going back, if you haven't watched the Goldbergs, basically it's Adam Goldberg's the writer, if you will. And this is kind of loosely based around his family. And he has a video camera and he films his family. The only difference is his family didn't have the daughter. He actually had 2 brothers. And so the only thing different with his family is that, but he had a very overbearing mother, and then he had the manly man. This guy, when he comes in, he takes his pants off, he sits in a recliner all day with the remote, he works at a furniture store, and basically just is the epitome of what I think of an 80s dad. Like, get over it, you freaking moron. And just, I love this show. I cannot speak it. The soundtrack from this show is phenomenal. Just nonstop 80s, especially like when you see Adam go to the dance dressed, like the Halloween dance or whatever. He's dressed like a Rubik's Cube one time. I mean, he reenacts E.T., he reenacts Goonies, he reenacts all these old movies. I love this movie. And it was just re-upped for its 10th season. So you were talking about watching it as it's going. I'm pretty much caught up. I don't have normal cable, so I only watch it when it gets put back on to like the streaming services. And I don't think season 9's out yet because season 10 hasn't started yet. But as soon as it hits, I'm going to watch it all the way through. I can promise you this is on my binge-worthy episode 100%. It's my favorite show, I think, of all time. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it there. If you haven't watched it, yeah, it's, I don't know. If you're from the 80s, especially if you're born in the late 70s, lived in the 80s, this is the king to me. It is just the king. So three manly men to lead off what we're talking about. So there you go.
There you go. That is your George. Look, when you said it, so beforehand, I'm like, what could he put as his George? I'm not really sure. But a second, I saw you put the Goldbergs picture behind you. It makes absolute complete sense. You love the 80s. You are all for it, which, yeah, obviously. So I get that.
What also I love about this show, and I'm just saying, so you guys have young kids, right? This is a show that you can watch with your kids. Like, I haven't got to the spot where I'm watching Parks and Rec and The Office with my kids, right? But this is a show that you can watch, and they'll have questions about your childhood. They'll be like, "Oh, you guys did that back then?" I mean, some of the stuff in the 90s is even still there. You know, like the dial phones. You see those phones. You see all that kind of stuff, and lots of questions happen, and it's good fun. The best is like the gym teacher, right? I'm a PE teacher now, and it's the guy wearing his whistle, tight polo shirt with the bike shorts all the way up, making him climb the rope.
Is that how you're dressing now? Is that how you're dressing?
I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about it. You know,
his brother being Bill Goldberg.
Yeah, his brother is actually the PE teacher's brother is actually Bill Goldberg, which is kind of hilarious, you know. So I mean, the Goldbergs. So yeah. Anyways, it's awesome. It's awesome. It's such a fun ride.
And I love the Walmart glamour shot, the Walmart family portrait picture there.
Dude, so many of those things. Yeah, the glamour shots, and then his you know, I use several things like. When I catch my wife and her friends kind of you know, talking back and forth, I'm like, y'all are yenta. And he's like, what are you talking about? And in the show, Adam calls his mom a yenta. And the yentas are these ladies that just are in the circle of phone talking, you know, gossip back and forth and trying to hook each other up. And I'm like, oh, you're in the yenta. And again, my wife has no idea what I'm talking about. She's like, what are you talking about? And Carson and you know, Cannon always laugh and go, oh, I know what that is. You know, I love the show. It's fun. It was definitely the first one on the list. And I knew it right off the bat. And then Last Man Standing. And then I kind of fought for my next one. So there you go. That's all me.
Respectable list. I like you went a little bit off of the beaten path a little bit. But
this is the only one that I thought may make a list, possibly because it's kind of still widely seen. It probably
almost
will make some lists down below though.
Yeah, it almost made mine. Especially the early seasons, I loved the end of the episode would be actual home footage.
Yes, that's great. It's actual footage that he did of himself as a kid. So all of the episodes are based off of, like, you know, he'd be filming Darth Vader and Optimus Prime when Optimus Prime died from the cartoon, and he's got all these different things. And he would film that, and that would be the end. And it would be like actual Adam. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah. I love that.
Cool picks. I think we got some good mountains. Dennis, you and I crushed more on two of them. Not surprising. I figured. I know that you are sane, and you picked.
And Andy, while you were gone, Dennis thought y'all might crush all four, so he's a little shocked.
Yeah. I thought if we had a potential to run through Crushmores here. I love all of your picks. I think they're great picks. So
yeah, it was hard to knock The Office out, but I just. And Goldberg, I'm telling you, Goldbergs was one I was it was right there on the cusp of being somewhere in there.
So it's basic. So you took Scrubs, I took Goldberg. So that's kind of like Benny's for us.
I think the thing is,
with that being said,
I stopped watching it after the actor that plays Pops died.
Oh yeah, dude.
And now Murray's not on it. So,
but we're talking about ones that almost made the list. Which I think is a pretty good segue into where we're going next. What are we going to do next, Kirk?
All right, guys, we're going to jump into all about the Benjamins, our honorable mentions of TV sitcoms.
Let's get it.
All right, so here's the rules. We are going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to go in the same order that we are in. So Dennis, you're going to go first. Andy second. I'm going to go third. We're going to snake draft that thing back around, which we picked up during football season. I'll go first, and then Andy will go second. Dennis, you'll go 2 times in a row. Boom, boom. Snake that thing back around. Finish off with our top 4. We cannot repeat an answer. Okay. And let's see if we can get 12 more amazing episodes to throw out for our honorable mentions. So, Dennis, you're going to go first. Give us what one of your honorable mentions would be.
All right. Well, this popped up. I wasn't thinking cartoons, but when Andy mentioned Family Guy, this one popped up for my Rosies, South Park.
Nice. Okay.
Nice pick.
Okay, so for me, my first Benjamin, I didn't watch a lot of it, which is why I didn't make my Rushmore. Although what I've seen of it, I like. Similar, I am going to go with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh, good show. So now I get 2 picks, man. I get 2 picks. And I have to throw it out there. Obviously, you picked Fresh Prince. I got to go with the other one that I took off my list. It probably the best sitcom ever, in my opinion. I just haven't watched a lot of it recently, and it used to be syndicated. I'm going with none other than Seinfeld.
Okay.
Nice. And then I'm going to come back with my second round, and I'm going to pick. I'm going to pick another just hilarious guy duo family situation. Everybody Loves Raymond.
Okay.
There you go.
All right, here we go. I'm going to do my next one. And my next one, again, one I haven't seen a lot of, but I like what I've seen of it. I don't know if you guys have watched any of it. I'm going to go with Superstore.
Oh, that fits right in that same name. Yep.
That's what I'm doing. Okay. Dennis, what you got?
My next one is going to be Reno 911.
Yes. Good.
Ooh.
Okay.
Good pick.
All right, you got another one now.
It's a more recent one, but Schitt's Creek.
Okay.
Hilarious.
All right, I got 2 more, so I'm going to pick one now. And I'm going to go with, I watched this a lot with my dad, who was a big fan of this. Charlie Sheen, 2.5 Men.
I forgot about 2.5 Men.
Yeah.
That's a great show. All right, well, I'm going to come with, all right, so I'm going to finish off with my 2. I'm going to go with the George Lopez Show.
Yes, good.
Good pick. The Trampolines, got to go with it. And I'm going to finish off with this one, in my opinion, is a really great show, but it only lasted 2 seasons, and I was very sad about it. It was a show called Reaper.
Okay.
Look that one up.
What's his name? Tyler Labette? Is that the one? Yeah.
So I'm going to go my last one, ending out mine. This is not on anyone's list, and I'm going to say it, and you're both going to be like, I've never even heard of that show. This is just a nod to my oldest daughter. I love watching TV with her. She loves this show, and actually, as I began watching it, it's pretty funny. And it was, I think it was a Nickelodeon show, but it was one of the newer ones, so, nothing that I really followed. It's about 2 girls that are basically on a YouTube channel. They have this funny YouTube channel, and I love it. It's funny. It's called Bizaardvark. That's going to wrap up mine, and that's a nod to Zoe. We like watching that show together. So Bizaardvark is my sitcom.
Bizaardvark is
it's pretty funny. It's pretty funny if you haven't watched it. It's actually pretty good. All right, your last one, Dennis. Where are we ending the Benjamins?
I'm hoping they don't come home, but Married with Children.
Ooh,
I was hoping it would be there. See in the background. Yeah, I was hoping that.
I thought it might happen. So just those are all 12 great ones. I know we don't really explain them all, but I decided with my nostalgia pick to kind of nail out some of those shows, like the Married with Children, or those are probably going to come around. I'm going to have to fight for them to stay off my 4 when we come later, but it's all shows. It's not just comedy. So great picks. We've got a few things coming up next. So we've got Kaab coming on with Bingeworthy type, watch Netflix till you die type binging the television shows. We've got our wives on this month, dude.
Yeah,
so your wife is going to jump into the nostalgia, and my wife is going to do documentary type television shows. And then this is actually one of those months where we do 5, right?
Yeah.
So 5, we're going to have our buddy Paul back on. Paul's going to come back on. And
Paul will now be joining the 3-timers crew too, the Triple Crown.
He'll be on the 3-timer, 3-time champ. And Paul's going to come in and do, competition television.
Yes.
Competition television. So all your cooking shows, all your racing shows, all your, all those kind of event type things. And man, my George for that one almost made this. It almost made this. So yeah. Dude, it's been fun. It's good. Starting off the October. Yeah.
Dennis, thanks for joining us again today, man. It's
having fun.
It's always good to hang out with you again, Dennis. You've been one of the OGs with us, man. Thank you.
Oh no, absolutely, man. I love what y'all do here.
Yeah, it's been fun. We're almost at 200 subbies. Man, share that stuff, like it. We've been killing it, man. It's been so much fun. We got a YouTuber coming on in a few weeks, actually. It's going to help us do Christmas classics. Yeah, Retro Rewind podcast. If you haven't seen them yet, go check that out. Francisco and Paul, they're going to be on the show coming in December. And we've already got our whole, Andy, we've got every single show lined up all the way into 2023 with guests. So, yeah.
It's going to be a great end of the year, man. I love
it's going to be a great end of the year. Food Rushmores, Christmas Rushmores. Man, so look, I don't want to talk too much more about it. Thanks for hanging out with us. We love you guys. We'll see you guys next time. How we end this thing?
This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top four.
And nothing more.
Peace.